This is Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast.
Did you guys see this? This is unbelievable. What is that all about, Kinger?
Get in here for the real thing. Like, let's get weird.
Maybe I blacked out trying to figure out what was going on.
Doubt, worry, fear, because that's what we're breaking the mold on here.
Welcome to Wild on 7th, presented by Pilot Games. We're here until it's here.
And welcome back to Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast. Again, as always, it's sponsored by our friends at Pilot Games. I know that I was out this weekend because it's a big weekend in Minnesota. Heck, it should be a Minnesota holiday. It's the Boys State High School Hockey Tournament. I was out enjoying some libations on 7th Street. Grab a tablet. You play a little bit because you never know. Could take your day to a whole new level if you happen to win. But, hey, you're not the only one that wins if you play Pilot Games. Your community wins too, Kinger. So, hey, might sound a little odd because I'm coming at you from Fort Myers Beach. We've got John in studio, 70 degrees in Minnesota. He's got the golf shirt on because, well, he's trying to think of more positive thoughts as we work through this. But, Kinger, before I bring you in here, I think there are some parallels to Fort Myers Beach and where we are in Minnesota right now. So listen, it's beat up. I thought it was back. I thought that it was recovered. We bring the family down here, pretty dilapidated still. Some beach restoration going on. The beach is in disarray. Still good. Still nice, but not perfect yet. But I think better days are coming. It's raining right now. Better days are coming. Do you find that there's maybe a couple parallels between Fort Myers Beach right now and the Minnesota Wild?
So you're using, this is a pretty elaborate metaphor. You didn't have Eck or Kirill laying on the shore when you walk down no, they're not there. But
no, but there's
I like
tide
this,
pools, there's other stuff like that.
I like this optimism. I'm not behaving great, I would say. I'm looking a little bit at the standings a lot. 7-point cushion, counting games in hand, counted how many games were left in the season walking in here this morning. There's 18, if you're wondering. I'm a little nervous. I went to the game yesterday against Pittsburgh. I actually sold 50-50 split the pot raffle tickets. I sold the winner carts, by the way. And actually remember, the guy came up to me. He says, "Hey, you do the podcast for the Wild. I also do a podcast for the Acme Comedy Company. Bought $10 worth of tickets, 10 G's." He won. So that was kind of cool. Wild on 7th, giving back to the community. But yeah, I've been nervous. Tell me this optimism story, trade deadline. You said it to me this morning. It made me feel very comfortable. It was like I suddenly slipped into a hot tub in Fort Myers. Just kind of help the fan base here.
Well, I think before we get to that, I am going to fan the flames a little bit on the anxiety because I think everybody's feeling it. Like, we were sitting in the seat last week, and I think there was a 10-point cushion between the Wild and the 9th place team. And all of a sudden, 7 days later, despite the fact that they haven't played terrible hockey, they're just not winning hockey games. And in some ways, we could talk about that too. Like, you can play good structure, but it's hard to beat teams 1-0, 2-1 every single night. The Wild are playing well enough to keep the opposition to that. They're just not finding ways to win games. So at the end of the week, all of a sudden, it feels a little anxious because you gave 3 points back. You got 4 more weeks, and if the reinforcements don't get back before that, you're losing 3 points a week against the crowd. All of a sudden now it's like, oh man, that's 12 possible points that could be recouped. Like it feels like it's out of reach a little bit. Like you're comfortable with 7, but at the same time, it's like you gave up 3 last week. Like, you start to get a little nervous.
Well, why are you doing this? Why is this something we're doing? I did want to ask you as a player. So they're playing well and losing. Like yesterday, this Pittsburgh game, they look great. Like if I was a coach, I'm not throwing this is not a break the tape game where you're so upset. And even Vancouver, right? Outshoot them 38-20, outshoot the Penguins. The problem I had is that game yesterday is a perfect example, Carts. Malkin gets a goal. Crosby gets a couple goals. Just these guys that just goal scorers, right? And you're seeing shots and structure, but the puck isn't going over the line, certainly not at any volume. And you're absolutely right. One goal against Pitt, one goal against Van, a team that's chasing us. And yeah, it looks kind of to the eye test like they're firing pucks, they're running around, they're in the other end more of the time, but yeah, not getting W's and not even getting the 1 point going to overtime, which at this stage of the season, man, every point is like put it in the fridge so it doesn't spoil. Like I love any point, and to get zeros is no good.
I think what this last stretch for the Wild has illustrated is that it takes dynamic players and dynamic plays to score and to get defenders thinking uneasy on their heels, so to speak, and then goaltenders, if they see it and it's straightforward and there's no deception and they're not scared, they can make the save too. And that's kind of across the board. That's like the intangible value of a guy like Kirill Kaprizov is defenders now are like, oh, what do I do? And they make a little mistake, a dynamic play, the puck's in the back of the net, or even the defense, and you could go on and on and on. Without those guys, things change quite a bit. You can outplay them, but and this isn't where I was going with the optimism, but this is very similar to the 2003 Wild, or I was on a team with New Jersey, 2012. We made it to the finals. Very similar template where we had to be really good structurally, rely on the goaltenders and our defense, and kind of chip and chase hockey, keep it simple. But you could wear teams down and win games enough to get you into the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, when the playoffs roll around, you're good at the game that starts to show up come playoff time. So there could be some blessings in disguise. Secondarily, what I feel good about is, let's say it isn't the Wild's year and it is the hurricane and it beat up Fort Myers Beach and there's nothing you can do about that. You've got Kirill out, you've got Ecker out, the guys are hurt, Brodin's out right now, and at various points, injuries have played a part. Now, it's 2 years in a row that's happened, so they're still going to have to fix that at some point. But if it isn't their year, look around the Central Division, because let's go back to the trade deadline where the Wild were quiet. And I actually think that this was great from Bill Guerin's perspective, because I think he's the kind of guy, and we've talked about this on the podcast, where you don't play poker with Bill Guerin. Like he'll go out, he'll get his hand, he'll get what he wants and he can win, right? Well, I think the hardest thing for Bill Guerin to do at this deadline was to just say, like, hey, we got to chill. Like, we can't leverage the future because we do have Kirill next year. We've got some other things. We've got some cap space. Don't spend it right now trying to chase a team that's hurt up. Give these guys their own chance. If it works and they go on a run, terrific. And, I think they do believe in the group that they have. But if not, look what happened everywhere else in the Central Division. Colorado, which I don't know how they were able to do this, but they go out and get, what was it, Brock Nelson?
Yep.
Charlie Coyle. I think they brought in like a D-man or something too. And then not to mention they got Natchez as well before that. And so they give up Rantanen, which is a big piece, but all of a sudden they look like a contender. And then Dallas goes and gives up Stankoven and a bunch of pieces, future pieces for Rantanen. So now you're looking at the Central and you're saying, oh man, like, dude, it looks like a complete gauntlet, and that was entirely out of the Wild's hands. It's not like they were going to go outbid any of the Central teams on these players to keep them off their rosters. But going forward now, those teams don't have those future assets. So if it is next year or the year after where the Wild's window is open, they're healthy, they have a year like Winnipeg's having right now, those teams won't have the assets to compete at the deadline to load up, and the path maybe gets easier for the Wild in the future. Speaking of trade deadline, so they trade Lauko out. And speaking of, let's real quick hit on the Boschlaw injury report, because Lauko was one of the guys on the Boschlaw injury report frequently. You've got Brodin, you've got Eriksson Ek, you've got Kaprizov, three big guys no longer able to play. That one obviously hurts. The hope is that they'll come back. We don't know if they're going to skate. I think we touched on that a little bit. But,
not skating yet, but hopefully soon. But yeah, that's your superstar, maybe your MVP in terms of versatility with Eck, and then top D. So that's why this situation here, this next few weeks, is so critical, because those are three major face cards in the deck that are not here for the Wild. So you like the quiet feet. I think you're right about Billy. If Billy played hearts, you ever play hearts with a guy that tries to shoot the moon all the time? Like every time he's trying to shoot the moon. Like I think it would be hard for Billy to just kind of chill, and he did. And I think so. Your 2 points of optimism are didn't mortgage the future, and also this style of hockey that's a little bit hard to watch with some people missing right now is what it's going to be like in a month. So we're already playing playoff hockey. And if we can, I mean, imagine our trade deadline, we just added a Kirill Kaprizov, an Eriksson Ek, and a Jonas Brodin. That would be the biggest haul in the Central, even against those two teams you just mentioned. But we got to get them back, right? We got to get them back and get them lathered up in time for the playoffs so that we come in peak form. But, yeah, there's a little hold your breath phase right now as we're trying to get – man, points are just so valuable right now. If we can come out, beat Colorado this week, just play one of those Carolina Hurricane games where we just dominate, get the Blues later in the week, whatever. It's going to matter because this is a tough one. Rangers too. You know, all these teams coming in, they're either fighting for their playoff lives or they're one of the strongest teams.
No, man. And you look at it's like it doesn't get easier, and the schedule shaped up nicely for the Wild because a lot of March was going to be at home. They haven't played terrific at home, but I think still it's a comfortable place for them to be able to come and find their game. And at least those pieces that are missing will be around the group, which I think for morale boosts things too. Now, it's my understanding those guys aren't skating, so I don't know how close they are. But yeah. You've got the Rangers, you've got the Blues, and I'm hearing the Blues are all of a sudden feeling good about the way that they're playing, that they haven't had a winning feeling in a couple of years. So this week isn't easy. But what do you feel that they need to get right now? I think they got to find a way to get 3-4 points out of this week.
Well, I was happy to see Hartman score yesterday, kind of start, finding himself. It takes a minute for these guys that have been out. I think Matt Boldy's going to have to really help us here. When you talk about dynamic players, and not that he hasn't done that this year. He's had 20-game stretches where he is the guy doing a lot. I think, you're going to need a Boldy to go on a heater. Even if it's a week-long heater, it's a game changer for us. Changes our season. Marcus has had a bounce-back year. Can we get him chipping in? Can we get Freddie to continue going? Can we sell some Hinostroza jerseys? I mean, this is what it's coming down to. You see Faber carrying a load. He got the goal the other night. I mean, I saw him just when he was right in front of me when he broke that stick after the empty netter from Crosby. And you can tell, man, these guys want it. This has been a hard year. They did choose their hard, and now they're at this critical juncture where all of that effort, all of that determination, you got to find a way to patchwork your way to the playoffs, or it's all for naught, right? And so certainly they feel the same pressure we do right now. But, yeah, I think Matt Boldy, Rossi, these guys, they, how do we make it happen? If Ryan Hartman could get on a run here and do one of his, pop in 5 goals in 2 weeks, that is an absolute difference maker for the season.
I agree wholeheartedly. Let's take a look at Boldy specifically, because I think that he is the guy that probably needs to carry the offensive torch for him right now. And I think he's learning how to adjust his game, where he's talking about shot volume and getting more volume, and it's there, and he's attacking the middle of the ice, and it's working. The next element to that is just finding a way to break through. So I think he's finding consistency in his style of play, and now the next step is like break through. And I think at times he might be a little frustrated too, because he's one of those guys that makes the play in the neutral zone. That's a takeaway and a quick pass that sends Freddie Gaudreau in, and Freddie gets to make the pretty play and score the goal. he needs somebody to make that play to get him the puck all of a sudden, and then he's off and he can make his beautiful play. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's feeling a little frustrated at times because he might feel like he has to do everything, but I think that that's a good thing for him. And then the next thing he's going to have to do is break through. Like, it doesn't matter. Find a way to score a goal. The good guys do. Like, look at Crosby's goal yesterday. It was gross. He just like went to the net. He shoveled it from between his feet, and it somehow climbs a bunch of bodies. I think it hits Faber or something like that and goes into the back of the net. You just have to find a way to break through. So Boldy's going to be a big piece. I think they could get more from the veterans too. Like you got Zuccarello, maybe Hartman back. I mean, he looks good, looks fast. I think he's playing hard. He's chipped in a couple of points already, so great to have him back. We had that hot moment where I think Johansson was playing spirited hockey last week, so maybe need more from him. And if they can find a way to get 4 points over the next week, and I think you're right, like every single week and every point matters right now. Just focus on this week, get 4 points, and then see where the other guys are at afterwards. But Boldy's certainly a guy. I think the defense are helping too. They're jumping in. Like Spurgeon's been active. He's been on the score sheet, so they're doing their part. But you see the frustration. You certainly do.
My mental state, Carts. I thought about going to a costume shop and buying some ruby red slippers on the way here. So I mean, this home stretch is unbelievable. It's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, and it's every game at home in our building, which should be like winning the lottery, right? And I'm trying to figure out energy. Like, I was going to bedazzle some Chuck Taylors and make ruby red Chuck Taylors. Like, I want, there has to be no place like home for this month. We have to find a way to get some energy at the X and get that winning feeling happening, because that's where we are. I mean, we're here in St. Paul for the month, and it's a game every 2 days at home. And so, yeah, that's kind of, I don't know if it's incense or, buying some ruby red slippers and plopping them on the Wild on 7th table here. If we can get going at home, this is what teams want. Oh, we got 12 games in a row at home. March Madness. Cool. That'll help. I mean, it has to, because that's going to be the stretch that's going to make a difference.
Maybe we need to organize an Xcel Energy Center giveaway: red slippers, little dresses, toy dog, no place like home. Just have the whole place buy into it. How great would that be?
Bike with a basket. I'm down for all of it. Because the energy was good yesterday. Like, it's a matinee, but you're right about that finishing, that dynamic players making dynamic plays. I swear, even the empty netter, unless I missed something to the naked eye, it looked like an amazing, like, I don't know how Crosby got that in the net. Like, I don't know if he chipped it and the puck was on its side, but those guys, you see Malkin and Crosby, and that's what we're going to need from Boldy and some of these guys. Just be the guy, be the NHL store guy. Get us the goals when we need them, when it counts, when the team needs them.
Sometimes it can be therapeutic too when you're not feeling well to maybe eat your feelings. If that was going to happen over the next week or so, where would you go to get both of us snacks?
I like how you added both of us in there. Yeah, I'm not familiar with eating your feelings. I actually don't know what that means, but I would say I would probably get some. I would go to Cub is where I would go, because it's local. It's a high value place. It's just friendly too. People love their Cub. I would roll in there, and I would get a great deal. I'd maybe get some libations, if there's happens to be one of the Cub liquor stores attached. Maybe get some bacon. Maybe get some bread, some milk, a lot of the basics. Eggs. I know there's a lot of talk about the price of eggs, but if you're going to find a good price, go to Cub. So I would head over to Cub. How about you? What would you do if you needed to have a home system or something to help you? Is that good?
Well, what I would do, yeah, that was perfect. Love that.
Yeah.
The first thing I do is call Aquarius Home Services. We made it through winter. Winter's good, 70 degrees out, but it's supposed to be down to 20 again tonight. So it's like your furnace has got to go back to work. If you had any doubts on your furnace or you need your AC looked up, check out Aquarius Home Services. They've got a whole home solution on sale up to 25% off right now. You can get a new high efficiency heating and cooling system for your whole home at a great discount. Schedule a free estimate today. Stay warm, stay cool, whatever the day requires. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended. They're just a click away.
Hey, I was going to ask you about our new guys a little bit. Nyquist, we know from the past. Is it Brazu? Is that how I say it? Brazo? They call him Braz.
I think so, yeah. Brazo.
What's your take on?
Which is a sweet nickname.
Yeah,
That's a sweet nickname.
Braz is cool. What do you have? You got any sense on this guy? Big body. Seems like Billy wants some size for the playoffs. What's your take on him? I don't know as much about him as Nyquist.
Yeah, we didn't really recap the trade deadline for the Wild. They were quiet, but they ship out Husnudinov, which I think surprised some people, surprised me a little bit, and then Lauko. I liked Lauko when he played. I think everybody liked Lauko when he played. It just he wasn't able to play that much, and I think that was part of the problem. Which, by the way, Kinger, not to throw another jab at you while you're down, but I think one of your bold takes was that Lauko was going to become a fan favorite and folk hero, so that ship may be sunk on the deadline.
So you're tying it back to bold predictions. I will say, though, both those players were liked by the fan base. So you do, like when they were traded, even though, Lauko had injuries, I think Marat kind of looks like he's doing a great job on the ice, but wasn't chipping in a lot offensively. But you did I think people felt like they were part of the family. It's like, Husty and Grapes. They got rid of Husty and Grapes. Those are some of our guys. If we had a family dinner, those would be a couple cool uncles at the party. So I think people were a little bummed to see them go just for the energy of the two players. But you're absolutely right. They didn't get one because of injuries, and then Marat's still got to figure out how to add that final piece to his game, the finishing aspect, because his skating is great.
Yeah, and I think so. If you look at Lauko, I think he was liked. I think he was effective. I think he was good. It just he couldn't stay on the ice, and that was problematic for him. And then I think you factor the Wild's cap situation, their roster problems, and having to have guys on LTIR and here, there, everywhere just to be able to ice 20 guys in any given night. Maybe they just felt that they had to make a move, so moving him out was part of that. When it comes to Husnudinov, and he's younger, but also I think you can make the decision, and I'm sure this factored in, but you have a guy that's undersized, and he's undersized. He's going to have to play a 3 or 4 center. So as a 3 center, you have to have some offensive upside. So think of Freddie Gaudreau right now. There's offensive upside there, and if he's your 3 center and you've got him for a few more years, that means Husnudinov is going to be your 4th center, unless he moves out to the wing and can use his speed and in different ways. 4th line center is like the ideal one, is big, strong, can win faceoffs. Like you're not asking that guy to be high flying fast and produce offensively. It's almost the opposite. And in some ways, I think trading Husnudinov was a very fair thing for the Wild to do, because now he might have an opportunity to be a number 3 center someplace else. I don't think that he's ever going to unlock the offense to be a number 2 or a number 1 centerman. So he at least gets an opportunity to maybe see something different in Boston and going forward. I also think if the penalty kill had been different this year, Husnudinov might still be here, but they need help there. I think the penalty kill needs an identity too. I think good penalty kills are big or fast or a combination of both. And I don't know that the Wild's penalty kill right now has an identity. And I do wholeheartedly believe that's part of the problem. You want to be a big kill. You want to have big bodies. You might not be as fast, but you can block shots. You can shut things down. You can own the middle of the ice, and you can give things up on the perimeter. All penalty kills have to give something up. You can give stuff on the perimeter with big bodies. If you're fast, you're aggressive. And over the course of the season, you see aggressive penalty kills have success, especially early in the year. They start to struggle, I think, more later in the year. And I think the Wild have chased that. They went from sitting back to trying to be aggressive, and the power plays have started to figure out the aggressive penalty kills almost in line with the Wild trying to become a fast penalty kill. So it hasn't helped them either. Uh, I think the future of the penalty kill wholeheartedly depends on it finding its own identity. Do we want to be fast? Do we want to be big? Do we want to block shots? How are we going to do this? And I don't know where Husnudinov fit into that equation, because it's obvious that they need help on the penalty kill and up front on the penalty kill. And if it is bigger bodies and Braz can help out, which I don't know that he will or will not, but I could see a change being good there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a compliment to Lauko when a team trades back for you. You know, that's a compliment. You say that with Nyquist on our side. But whenever we trade for a guy, I always read the comments because I want to see what the team that, you know, he played on previously is saying. And it looks like the Wild graded out about a B+ on the trade. The Bruins seem to get a B minus. But big body, unsure if he plays to his size yet. We'll have to see that. And then it does seem like the Wild like to take on guys where they can maybe help them with their skating, right? So whether that's the big D from Columbus, Juracek, or Braz, it seems like there's a lot of trust in Mr. Ness here to say, hey, even if a guy is a big body and is still refining his skating, we're confident that we can add that. You know, we can give him that 10% bump on how he moves on the ice, and you can't teach size, right? So if we can get some of these playoff bodies in here, work with them on their skating, that player is going to become what they were supposed to be projected as. So it seems like that's what they're doing with Braz.
I think it's a good transition into size, because I think size is what got our friends from Stillwater into the state high school hockey tournament. Like, you can't teach it; it shows up there. Stillwater, for me, and we'll get to it, but they looked like the team to beat. They were big. They had, you know, seniors, and great tournament. So maybe we should start there, Kinger. How much of the tournament did you go to? I was at Thursday, Friday games, and it felt like it was an unbelievable tournament.
It was special, man. I did the full day Thursday. I watched every minute of the hockey, little Digidios in between. Long walk, by the way. And then I was at the championship game on Saturday. Moorhead unfinished business for the Spuds, and they got it in their 9th trip to the championship game. They did beat Stillwater. And another crazy game. I did want to ask you, the goal scoring, the skill. So when you look at high school, these are the Michigan kids. You know, these are the lacrosse. Like, they are so high skilled, and you're getting all this goal scoring. Do you think that the NHL eventually? This looked like a lacrosse game. You know, with the goal scoring, Moorhead Stillwater. The Hill Murray Moorhead game was like that in the regular season. It's almost like the goalies don't have a chance. I just wonder if that is something we're going to start seeing with this new generation of almost like they're like hacky sack kendama kids that can do anything with their stick and puck. And it looks like lacrosse. I heard, I think Kirill was at the game, the championship game, and he said to somebody, is it always this wide open? High school hockey, and it's a good question. I think it's changing. I think there's so much skill. If you're a goalie, man, you're shaking in your boots right now.
I think some of it's about development of players too, and that's where I'll give Moorhead a ton of credit, because they are well coached. They have Cullen behind the bench, 1,500 games played. But when they got out to a 3-0 lead, they didn't stop playing hockey. Like, it was, let's make plays. And they were making good passes in the neutral zone, support passes. I think at times maybe they sat back a little bit from nerves or feeling the pressure of it. But I don't think that was the system. I think high school kids are getting good coaching now. And when you get good coaching, and not necessarily now, but the coaches are adapting to the game and what the game needs, and the game wants offense. So if you're going to stand out as a young kid, it's offense, it's hockey IQ. How can you differentiate? And the kids are out there making plays. They're being encouraged to make plays. And I think out of necessity, every coach is like, all right, man, I've got to find playmakers, because we have to get 4 goals a game. And but I think you're right. Goalie's uncomfortable in that spot. I think it's also hard. It's also hard because like, what are you going to use? Shut down defensemen? Like, and how many of those are you going to come by? Like, still, you need to develop like the puck moving defenseman too. And there may be, and you watch those. So I was watching the Stillwater Moorhead game, and at times I was like, man, some of these plays look like pro plays. You know, like these kids are good, they're skilled, they know how to use their body, they know how to use their speed. They're making great little support plays and passes, like great reads. It was unbelievable how good and skilled these kids are. And I don't know, maybe it's a good thing for the game of hockey in Minnesota too, because we've talked about this before, how Minnesota kicks out a lot of players, but maybe not high end ones. Maybe now is their time where they start kicking out high end players.
I think you're absolutely right. And the coaching, I mean, on one bench you got 3 NHLers on Stillwater with Vanek and Zanin and Stalock. You got Cullen, you got Kurt Giles, right? I mean, it's unbelievable, the coaching. The thing that was such a joy. I'll give Moorhead their flowers here. I have never seen a high school hockey team quite like this. The passing. I was talking to somebody. I bet if you counted the amount of passes in a Moorhead game, total passes that they do as a team, it has to be like 20% more than any other team. I mean, their puck possession, their power play is unbelievable. You cannot take a penalty against the Spuds or you are dead. Because you start to see, and then they do the thing with Zimmerman and Cullen where they don't put them together all the time. If they're not getting power plays, they put them together, kind of like the old Malkin Crosby days where they'll just run them out together on a line. And to your point on D, there's number 4 on Moorhead. He's basically a forward playing D. And so there's times when maybe someone would blow by him and score a goal, but then he's the guy that gets the goal when you need it. You know, he goes down there and he's deep in the zone scoring. And the matchup problems that Moorhead would have was when they played those heavy teams that were north and south, right? So Stillwater looked like that. Lakeville South actually looked like that. The Ernst kid was a big boy. He looked like he was out of the Legion of Boom back in the early 90s. And Hill Murray played that way too, that north and south popcorn stand, big bodies, big forwards. But in the end, I had to take Carts. I said if it's over 5 goals in the championship game total, Moorhead wins. If it's under 5, Stillwater wins. And I mean, they want a race to 6, and they'll win that race. And that's what ended up happening. Kudos to Stillwater for staying in that game. It was 3-0, 3 minutes in. It was 5-1, and they just kept coming and coming, and they almost got it. And so 2 heavyweights. It was a great tournament. I really think it felt different this year. I think the whole state kind of appreciated what we have even more. Part of that is some new teams winning and new teams making it, but there was just kind of this warm hearth of the tournament. Like, isn't this great that we have this in Minnesota? I feel that all the time, but for some reason I felt it more this year.
The tournament felt bigger to me this year too, and a lot of times I'm out on the road with the Wild, so I'm not here for the tournament. So it was fun for me to get a chance to be able to go. I went Thursday, went Friday. Friday evening was standing room only. And it's the entire town. So I bring my daughter to the game. We get there at like 4:30, and we try to get a bite to eat beforehand. We walk in to Zamboni's, jammed, nothing. We go to the next spot, like New Bohemia or something, jammed, not a spot. Go to the burger joint, nothing. Tom Reed's, nothing. Walk around, say, all right, we'll go to Cassetta's. Maybe we can just rip through the line there quick. The line was all the way back through like their marketplace.
Yeah.
Like there was no chance. You couldn't get a morsel of food without waiting maybe an hour. The town of St. Paul was jam-packed. And then all of a sudden, the games start, everybody filters in, and standing room only, 20,000 people to watch high school kids play. It was unbelievable. But I do want to make a couple more points on those Stillwater Moorhead games. I thought a couple guys had great tournaments. Stillwater, I really like Cone, number 4, the defender from Stillwater. Like he had Chris Pronger vibes to me. Like he knows how to throw like a good cross check, put a guy down, keep him down, but not go to the penalty box.
Yeah, he's got
great job.
He's got some sandpaper.
Yeah, loved it. Loved to see it too. Like in a game that's high flying and skilled, like to have a guy with some sandpaper. I thought he was extremely impactful on the back end for Stillwater. And then the there's a couple plays. Mason Kraft was good too. The pass he made on the seventh goal, the power play goal, like that's an NHL pass. That's an NHL play. Picks it up on the wall, throws it all the way across the seam to his teammate, and that one's in the back of the net. Terrific play from him. I thought that Brooks Cullen too. Like he just looks like maybe he wants to be like his dad, just patient with the puck all the time, makes the play, never panic. Um, and I could go on and on throughout the tournament, but I thought some of these individual plays were great. And then my last point on coaching is I watched the Friday games, and Moorhead, the only reason they're in that final game is coaching. They have two face-off plays set. So they have a D zone draw that they win, and they send the winger flying. The D knows if they win it, they're just going to flip it. They flip it into space. The guy wins the race and draws a penalty. That penalty all of a sudden turns into a power play. That power play turns into a goal. And then late in the game, too, it was Brooks Cullen taking a couple of face-offs, and boom, the puck's out of the zone, and they win. So it was two separate face-off plays, set face-off plays. I actually think they scored on a face-off play earlier in the game, too. But just those guys were prepared. It was illustrated that they're prepared. And then in the championship game, it looked like they were making in-game adjustments. Like Stillwater was forechecking heavy at the end of the first period, beginning of the second period, and then Moorhead just all of a sudden switches like, all right, we'll fly the wings, throw it out to the neutral zone. Like the guys were able to adjust on the fly, and typically that's not easy to do at the high school level. Like these kids are smart; they can pull it off. They're getting good coaching now, and I thought the level of the game, the Double A game, was as good as I've ever seen it. Now, I don't want to cheat the Class A because that was a terrific story too. East Grand Forks coming in here, winning that game, 1-0 lead. They give it up with like a minute left, but they don't quit. Great individual play by the guy that scores the game winner. And but St. Cloud Cathedral, again, defending champs, they know how to win. They score late. I thought the Class A tournament was spectacular too.
Yeah, and I love that the Hibbing team just brought amazing energy. That game
Yeah.
got away from them in the semis, but I would like to have their entire team on the podcast if we could. They were rock and roll. They were a party on wheels. That was a heartbreaker for me to see them go down. You got to give some flowers to Mason West on Edina. What a stud this kid is, two-sport athlete. What is he, 6'6"? You got the two super sophomores, right? You got the Zimmerman kid and Moorhead, the 10th grader at Stillwater, had a hat trick. He was a stud too. So, yeah, you got the St. Thomas kid, Rude. I mean, it was outstanding. It's funny. I was talking to some people and they're like, "Hey, this should be a holiday." I'm like, "No, it's so much better to skip work. It's so much better." Like the fact, if I think it would ruin it if it was a holiday. Like I love the whole like even the people you work with. Like the one of the gals in our office, she was like, "So you're gonna be like you're gone tomorrow?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm absolutely gone tomorrow. I'm gonna be at the stuff and I've planned my week accordingly. I jammed a bunch of stuff at the start of the week, but yeah, it is so fun to just kind of." And you just see everybody, right? Everybody's down there, a lot of people go to the exact same places, right? Which is kind of funny. Like when we were at Digidio's, I think all the booths next to us were the same booths from the year before, and you kind of, it's just so good. And yeah, I just loved it. Such a good time.
How about Jace Campsela and the beefsteak? Did you see him in his post game presser where he's like, "Hey, what was with the beefsteak?" He's like, "Well, these guys were talking about it after hockey day. Some podcast, Wild on 7th. Did you see that?"
No, but I met him. He was at the expo. I did have him number one in the hockey hair this year. The Macho Man, first of all, I don't know what it was because it was a Slim Jim. It just gave you all the Randy Macho Man stuff mixed with like Poison and Motley Crue. I don't even know if he bleaches his hair or not because it kind of just looks how it's supposed to look. Either they got a great hairstylist in Hibbing that knows how to do it better, or he just had like crazy weird blonde mixed hair. But I saw him at the expo. I totally forgot they had just lost that game that got away from them, so they're probably just devastated because I didn't see it, right? Because I'm at the expo and I just go up to him. I'm like, hey, awesome, the Slim Jim, and I mean, you guys are the best. And they just kind of, there was three of them, and they looked at me like, well, we wish it would have gone better than it did today. You know, they had just lost, I think, and so I was a little tone deaf, my bedside manner, but yeah, they were. That Slim Jim, I mean, come on, yeah, that. I've been doing the hair for a long time, and it's very rare that I'll just be sitting there in my basement and just kind of laugh out loud. Like, is that a Slim Jim? Did he just bite into a Slim Jim? Yes, of course he did. So, yeah, they were fun, and it just, I don't know. It's hard to explain to people. It's like, no, you don't really get it. Like, to bring someone to that tournament is something I want to do someday. Like a buddy of mine, maybe that lives in Colorado, or just to have them fly in and be like, I just want you to see this. I don't think people get it. Like you really couldn't explain it, could you? I mean,
No,
it's a high school
I don't think you could
tournament.
explain it.
Yeah, 20,000
Right.
people.
You know what else is crazy is there's so many people there without a rooting interest. So Friday night I was looking around and goals are scored and the student section goes bananas and everybody else is there just to watch good hockey and just soak up the environment. It's a different experience than going to any other hockey game because most times you have the majority of people in the building with a rooting interest for the home team. And there is no, every team's a home team here. They have the student section, but people are just there to watch good hockey. And I was like, that's a different experience, but also cool. Like, just look at the turnout of people just here to consume high school hockey. I don't know, man. It's pretty cool. But
It's like going to a show. Yeah, it's like a Broadway show.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, let's go check it out. Moorhead, Stillwater. You know, heavyweight fight. Let's go.
So we had some props with a beef stick. You have anything that you'd recommend to go along with a beef stick?
Oh yeah, actually, because with the beef stick being kind of probably got that at a convenience store somewhere in Hibbing. I would probably balance that out with some Jimmies. You know, like if you're gonna, I don't know exactly what's in a Slim Jim, but I think Jimmy's could kind of balance that out a little bit. If they were on the teeter totter, I would go over and get some dill dip, some ranch dip, maybe get a veggie tray, and maybe have one of the compartments of the veggie tray be Slim Jims, and then the rest of it veggies and Jimmy's dips. Minnesota company. They were in town for the tournament, the Young Bucks. I did not get to see them. I wish I did, but family run, started by Grandpa Jimmy down in Stewartville, Minnesota. If you want to get it right from a dip standpoint, check out Jimmy's. Don't you be messing with my dressing. Construction.
I like it. Minnesota constructed a pretty darn good thing when it comes to the state tournament. And if you'd like to construct something that will last as long as the state tournament has, call our friends at Wild Construction. They specialize in roof and storm damage. So if you're in one of the areas that storm blew through last year, specifically in Cross Lake, but other pockets of the Twin Cities, they have resources on their website that will show you where the storms were, give you the dates, and if you're within that range, give them a call. They'll swing over. 70 degrees today. All the snow will be melted, so it'll just be a matter of time before they can get up on the roof. And it does take up to 12 months for a lot of the damage from storm to show up and rear its ugly head. So let them get up there, check it out, and they'll take care of you and make it happen. Wildconstruction.com. Look them up.
Yeah, I have a couple just random things. Last two things from the tournament. What do you think of all the cheers ending with woo? You know, maybe it's just because I'm older, but they do the couple, you know, da 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 woo. I'm kind of negative on the woo. I don't think you need the woo to let people know the cheer is done. Because you might be saying the most hard-ass thing, like you're saying something pretty edgy, and then you just go, woo. I don't know. I don't know if I like the woo. How do you feel about
I think the woo is like celebrating. Like you're almost patting yourself on the back. Like you think that
we did a good cheer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, It's like saying you're up 1-0. I don't hate it. I think it'd be good if it was one school, like, if it was like one school that did the woo after each one. If it's all of them, then it kind of loses its effect, I think. Another thing I love though about the student sections is how it's split up. Like schools will say seniors and juniors only in the student section, and that piece of the Xcel Energy Center pie will be completely full. Like St. Thomas looked cool because all the cadets had their uniforms on, and that
Yep.
looked awesome. I
They have
think
a great
Edina
fan
had
base.
like, yeah, road construction. But then all of a sudden you look up in like section 300, and then there's also like 2,000 more construction vests because the underclassmen couldn't be in the lower bowl, so they had to be up there in the upper bowl. I don't know. I love that part of it too.
St. Thomas had about 5 sections up top too. Like I didn't notice that as well because they're in kind of navy, so they wouldn't necessarily pop out of the seats, but they had a huge student section. I celebrations. One thing I thought was interesting with Moorhead. So Moorhead scores their first goal, and the guy ran back to the bench, almost like vintage Hill Murray days. He went to his team on the bench and jumped into the bench, and I almost thought Moorhead did that as a because they were kind of like every grandpa's favorite hockey team in the tournament, right? Because they play the right way, and even like in a world where somebody's doing a selfie stick celebration, like Moorhead was very like old school, like celebrate with your teammates, come back to the bench. They didn't always go back to the bench. Sometimes they would just kind of hug on the wall wherever they scored. But there was something sort of wholesome about the Moorhead team that I think the state bought into a little bit as well. Part of it just being celebrating together. I think the old people, shake your fist at the sky. They're like, wow, run to your teammates, not away from them. And Moorhead had a little bit of that.
I think you're spot on. That team seemed mature to me too. It almost like took on like a Matt Cullen type of persona. They were good, but you would never know that they know they're good. They have like a quiet confidence about them. They're not like they don't showboat. They're just out there to play good hockey, compete, and try to win. And it's about their group, their team. And I do think that one celebration I don't like, and I don't know why I don't like it, and it seems that so many goals are scored the opposite end of their student
And
section,
they
so that they skate
sprint.
all the way down, and then the celebration's like almost over by the time they get to the student section. I get why you do that. I probably would have been that guy. Absolutely would have been that guy. But for a reason, I just don't love that one. So maybe that's part of the reason why I do buy into the Moorhead going to the bench.
It's just logistics, right? I mean, you're right.
Logistics, yeah.
Half of the goals, it's like, that's a long way, man. Like by the time you get there, not as cool. Like Channel 45 is going to cut. Like right when you're at the red line, they're cutting to somebody else. Like you don't have unless you just won the tournament and you're going to slide on your knees halfway there. You don't have enough time. It's like they're playing you off the stage at the Oscars. But no, it was a great tournament.
Last shout out before we get out of here too about the tournament from me. I thought the broadcasts were great, and Lou Nanny, without him being there, and he's been such an institution to the tournament for years. And what would it be like? And I thought the hosts were terrific, Chris Long and Joe Schmidt and everybody else, play-by-play guys. But the color guys that had to step in and kind of fill a new role, and Clymer, Parrish, and Kevin Gorg, I thought they were terrific. I loved Gorgie being part of the mix there. I thought he was great. You could feel the excitement. And I think you could sense that these guys actually love the state tournament too. And I felt that through the TV. So I thought they did a great job.
Yeah, that's great. Tough shoes to fill, right? And, we talked about this first year after Lou Nanny. It's like, how do you do it? And, yeah, they did a nice job. And I think Gorgie is very loved by the state of Minnesota. So maybe he can continue to carve out his spot in that tournament as well, specifically. But I was going to ask you a couple spring break questions.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, so you're there. Congratulations. You look good in the light green. Are you a sit around guy, or are you like twitchy and you need excursions and you need to I could just sit by a pool, read 2 books, and never, ever leave the pool for 1 week, and it's a good vacation. Are you that guy, or do you need action?
I need action. So what happens if I sit around the pool too much? is I start to hide, like I want to escape from the sun.
Okay.
I don't want to get torched, but and I just don't like sitting idle that much. The rest of my family does. So what I turn into is the gopher. So I'm basically a gopher on vacation. So I'll go get the snacks or I'll get the drinks and I'll deliver it and I'll run up to the room and get that or whatever they need. I turn into the gopher. And then I would say the other thing I turn into is like the exercise guy. Like, let's go for a beach walk or we'll do this or something like that. But
Yeah,
I can't sit by the pool for more than an hour.
yeah, that's annoying. How about I want to know about golf because it's a family trip. Is this something you can work in? And the twins, I believe, are in Fort Myers. Is spring training a part of the experience down there for you and golf?
No golf here with the kids. So clubs are at home, still continuing to rust through the winter. And but spring training, we've talked about it. I think today would have been a good day because it's overcast and a little misty. I didn't look to see if they had a game today or not. I think we'd certainly do that because when it comes to baseball, I think minor league games, and not that this is a minor league game, but it's a spring training game, are more fun than the big games. Like you get all the St. Paul Saint kind of vibes, where they've got the activations and the fun stuff, and the kids would be involved in it. So, yeah,
I,
we'd be into that.
I think Pablo's pitching today. I think our number one pitcher's pitching. I don't know if it's a night game or an afternoon game, but maybe something to check out. Speaking of games, this Ovechkin game, March 27th, man, this is quickly turning into, I don't know what that looks like on the secondary market right now, but that is a hot ticket in late March here in St. Paul with 9 goals away. He had an empty netter yesterday, so I think there are a few people wanting that for their birthday as well. So is that a game? That's a national game? Are you going to go to that game, the OV game?
Yeah, dude, it's mildly annoying because the national program can just trump the
Yeah.
regional network whenever they want. So initially, we had that game. I had that game to call, and the national program said, "Hey, this is we're switching. You guys can have Seattle back, which is I think next week, maybe, or is it this week? Might be this week."
Yep.
But they give the Seattle game back, and they take the Washington game. And I was like, "Oh man, that would be fun to be able to call if it is a special moment. That would be super cool." But national guys get it. But when it comes to those tickets, so I have tickets to games, and I tell all my friends and stuff, hey, if you ever want to go to a game, let me know. Like I've usually got tickets. Just
Not for this one.
don't hesitate to ask. Don't hesitate to ask. I've been asked for these tickets now on multiple occasions, and first come, first serve. So they got them. But I said, if you do somehow get your hands on that Ovi puck, that's the only thing I'm going to ask for in return. We were talking about that. So I wonder if the NHL has like the ability to track these pucks. Like, how are they going to know which puck was the Ovi puck, or if something happens, or if somebody steals it, or can they track these pucks? Baseball has the ability to do that because I think they have serial numbers on all the home run balls.
Yep.
And hockey's a little different because the puck's in the net and somebody has to physically take it out. But can you imagine if you were like best buddies with Marc-Andre Fleury and Ovi scores that goal and you take it out of the net, launch it into the stands? That's what I would do.
Yeah, and he's got
You know,
he's got another one in his breezers, and he just like swaps it, gives you the real one. Just
Right,
awesome.
exactly.
It's like a prank. I mean, you could see Flower do
Yeah.
that. Be like, hey,
Yes.
it would be
Yes.
great if he flipped it into the net after Ovechkin scored.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Right.
make a millionaire.
That's why I said you'd go down in Minnesota hockey history if Ovi scores that goal, you pull it out of the net, launch it into the stands, and somebody makes $1 million on that. People will love you forever. So maybe we got to make that happen.
That's so good. It's just awesome. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, first of all, I don't want anyone to score against the Wild. Let's be clear here. But that's like what the Yankees do, right? You hit a home run, they just throw it back on the field. Yeah, just launch the puck. I don't know that the Wild want people firing pucks into the stands, but that's a pretty funny idea. Anything else on your list to cover? I think we got a nice blend of optimism as we ride through the desert here, trying to make the playoffs, and then a little flowers for the state tournament today. You have anything we
I
missed?
think it was good, man.
Well, awesome.
I think we nailed it.
Well, thanks for calling in on your spring break. I know you're right in the 10 to 2 is the best sun hours, and you did this right in the window. Not sure what the UV is, but we're here
till it's here.
Good. Little delay. That's all right. You're on spring break. Peace, brother.
See ya.